I'm so honored to be speaking to her because I watched some videos of her where she was picking awards for being the best HR, practitioner of the year. That was in 2019. And then in 2020 as well, that was just in December, she won the best HR industry personality of the year. That was at the 3rd African Human Resources Innovation Awards. And it wasn't just about the fact that she won that award, but the cheers that she got when her name was mentioned as winner of that category. And that said a lot about why she was excelling in her field. And she's someone who is very knowledgeable about lots of things, especially in the world of work, and she's here to share all that with us. So please help me welcome Dr. Hazel Pobiwa Berard Amwa, my special guest for this morning. How are you? Pleasure to meet you finally. And I was watching that video and I was like, I saw your whole team. It's like everybody was just waiting for your name to be mentioned. And the moment you were mentioned, they were all up and excited. It must feel very great to have an army behind you like that. What has been that magic for you?
Thank you, Bella. I think I always tell people that the grace of God is real. I've come to the point in my life where I don't apologize for being a Christian. I don't apologize for keeping my faith and practicing my faith. When I'm able to succeed at things is because I've prayed through them. And people are created by God, right? So when you have a connection with people through faith and grace, and you genuinely work with them to improve them, take feedback from them to improve yourself, put yourself down at the same level with them, even if you're their superior at work, you create a bond, a friendship, a family factor. And that's how I work, because nobody's really perfect. I work in a team where I have young people who are so tech savvy and do things that I can never do in my lifetime. So I leverage on them, they leverage on my experience, and then together we win. So it was a win for the whole team, because where I am today is because other people have helped me to be where I am today. So it was a win for the whole team.
Is it ever about the award for you, or it's more about just doing your thing? And if that comes along, then it's fine.
So I was raised by parents, Dr. J.C. Amwa and Mrs. Rosalind Arele Amwa, who taught me the value of not failing. Overcoming barriers, overcoming challenges, and always keeping your eye on the ball and realizing that you can do it if you decide to do it. So for me, it's about however difficult the situation is, picking myself up, learning the lessons of failure, and continuing to go. Once upon a time, I sat in a room where awards were being picked by people, and I thought, how does that really happen? How do people grab awards? And I was thinking, wow, these are heroes. The first time I got an award, I thought, wow, I'm a hero too.
How long ago was that?
This is like 4 years ago.
Okay.
So that was my first award in Ghana, actually.
Yeah.
But
was
I
it
had
an
other
HR
awards.
award as well?
HR award, but I had other awards internationally. So, but I thought, okay, internationally, top employer awards, those are recognized, by certain institutions. But locally, I thought, oh, wow, okay. So it's possible. And that was very exciting for me. So it also helped me take my work more seriously, because an award means that there is integrity and credibility around the things you do. So anybody should be able to say, oh, Bella got this award, and therefore Bella is expected to live by this standard. So for me, getting those awards helps me to raise my game and be more conscious about quality and delivering on-time expectation to really create value for wherever I work.
But that's the thing, because when people have high expectations of you, the pressure and the burden is on you. I don't know if you follow the Olympics at all, but yesterday, one of the top world champions, she just could not handle the pressure. So she had to opt out of the team and allow, the American team to carry, that burden, because she said the expectations were too much. And it was like she was doing this for everyone else but herself. And she wanted to do this for herself. I don't know if you feel that way, and especially because you're in the HR department, I'll ask you this, because there are a lot of people who are doing this not because they really want to do it. They probably want to do it, but it's like everybody else expects them to win, and so they have no option than to do it. And that places a lot of pressure on them. How do you manage that?
So pressure, I talk about balance in my life. I talk about having an outlet, right? So having time for yourself to do other things apart from work or school is very important, because you have to have fun in life. If you don't have a balance, the pressure mounts. When you have a balance, you have a release. So whether it's sports or reading or hanging out with friends or family, you have to have a release, right? Once upon a time, I used to see a psychologist because I was under a lot of pressure. And then she wasn't a woman of faith. She was a foreigner and said, look, I don't believe in God. But if prayer works for you, that's your release. I thought that was very insightful. So most of us pray a lot. We go to church, we go to the mosque, we pray. But do we see prayer also as a release of sorts, where you put your burdens before someone who can solve them for you.
Yeah.
So for me, prayer helps me to release pressure because of my own, I can't do it. And that's my mindset. So I always release my pressure by just giving the burden to the guy who says, yoke with me and I'll carry your burdens for you.
Yeah, indeed.
That's Jesus.
No, that's Jesus. I mean, don't worry. This is not about, this is not a religious conversation, by the way. But we'll find that coming in as and when.
Yeah.
But Dr. Hazel Pobiwa-Berad-Amoah is an author. And this won't be the first book that she's written necessarily, because I read that she co-authored some other books that were edited by, the vice president of the Republic of Ghana, and another one as well. But she's also a chartered accountant. Chartered insurer, more like. Okay, so I'm just wondering how you're able to combine all of these together. You seem to be enjoying the HR work a lot more from what I read, really. How do you combine them and also combine being an author altogether?
So when I was in uni, I didn't plan to be an HR person.
Okay.
So through internship and through contract work, I found myself in the HR space. And I found myself enjoying it thoroughly. So I grew my career in the HR space. And once upon a time, I worked in an insurance company. And I remember my CEO saying to me, listen, Hazel, you have to get a chartered insurance certificate. And I thought, really? He says, listen, you have to get it because it's going to help you branch into general management if you ever decide to. So I took on the challenge and studied for it. And, it's been very rewarding because insurance is not just what we see. There's so much about risk management and consciousness and investments that go with insurance. So that has been a good one for me in terms of a professional dimension. I write as a hobby.
Okay.
When I was a child, my parents took my siblings and I to the library to pick books. I don't know if libraries still exist in Ghana.
Oh, they still do.
We had libraries that we would go to every Friday to pick books to read for the weekend on top of our schoolwork. So I was used to going to the library to pick a book to read, and we began going twice a week and so on and so forth. So reading became a thing that I loved to do. So it's a hobby of mine. And we began to write short stories, myself and my sisters, and write poetry. So all my sisters write.
Okay.
My junior sister, she owns Dream Magazine.
Oh, I see.
So she's the owner of Dream Magazine. She's the editor-in-chief. It's now international in West Africa.
Yeah.
Published in both French and English. So I guess writing is not very, peculiar, or, it's not very peculiar to me, but it's common with my siblings and myself.
But you had to hone that craft. What
Absolutely.
exactly did you have to do to perfect it?
Nothing much really, but putting my mind to it. So I reflect a lot on the things that happen around me, and I try to make meaning out of them, and try to put a theory to it if there's one that exists. Even if there's not one that exists, I create a theory around it. So, for example, once upon a time, I got fed up with someone giving me excuses for not doing things for a very long time, and it really pissed me off, for my French. It really pissed me off.
Fine.
So I coined the word excusivity.
Okay.
And I said it's a behavior of somebody constantly giving excuses rather than getting things done. So excusivity, based on the things I believe in, are the fact that you don't overcome hurdles by looking for solutions, but always give reasons why things cannot be done. So that's how I just, do things. And I use words to write things. Yesterday morning, for example, I was riding a bicycle and I'd had a fall previously, and I thought, don't let your setback stop you from stepping forward. So setback, stepping forward. So I put these things together and I write something around about my experience, and I post on social media and I compile these things. So I thought it makes sense to put these thoughts together in a book.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where we got Winning in the Jungle. But even before that, because I want to understand, you write a lot about business, the world of work.
Yes.
Because the last one that you co-authored, it was titled Contemporary Business Imperatives in a Developing Economy.
Yes.
And that was also about the world of work, basically, and, what you can do to scale up. And now we have this as well. Is that where your interest really is when it comes to writing?
So my interest in writing, both books I did with His Excellency and the other professor who edited the books were, one was performance management, the right skills, the right HR practices to help companies put in place the right human dimensions to help them to achieve their business targets. The second one, Contemporary Business Imperatives in the Developing Economy. I wrote the chapter on leadership.
Okay.
And business leadership. So leading yourself and leading an enterprise. So my writing is mostly in the area of strategy, human capital management, and leadership. And my doctoral studies have been around these topics, so I seem to have some proficiency in understanding
in this area.
these areas. Yes.
And so then we're seeing something similar with this book as well, this new one that you're yet to launch? Or is this more open and, encapsulates everything regarding life and survival?
So there is the leadership of self and mastery of self in this book. So this book is talking mostly about emotional intelligence,
Okay.
social intelligence, and cultural intelligence, as well as finding a way, a commonality among the various difficulties that you have, having mastery over your own talents, and using your emotions, your psyche to just overcome. And this book was birthed during COVID. Because during COVID, we realized that people struggled with emotional issues, psychological issues, losing loved ones, health issues. Businesses struggled because they lost volumes, they lost clients, and so on and so forth. So how do you as a person, being thrown with all these obstacles, still survive and still are able to deliver on what you want to deliver for yourself, or even divert your business, or divert your attention, divert your interest, but still survive?
Okay.
Another thing with COVID was it sort of enhanced the reason for us becoming a global village by using a virtual way of working. So most companies now had to get people to work from home. And by the way, before COVID, this was something that was being discussed largely on the world landscape, to say that people have to begin to work virtually, but it was not very applauded, especially in our part of the world, which is a developing economy. So what COVID did was to force us into that space where digital and techie were the way to go for people to work virtually. So if you are surrounded, or if you are hit with a headwind like COVID, which is health-based, hitting lives, how do you still, even if you've lost what you value, being friends or family or business, how do you still survive without dying as a person? So that's what really birthed this book.
Emotional intelligence on its own is a very difficult thing for many people. Now you have to master that to some extent.
Yes.
Master social intelligence and all that during this pandemic. And you need to combine them to be able to succeed.
Absolutely.
How are you going to do this?
It's about being intentional.
Okay.
Nothing good comes easy, all right? Emotional intelligence, social intelligence, cultural, they remain a journey. Because there's no parameter to what end. But there are components and there are criteria to check yourself and know that you're making progress. And as the world evolves very quickly, you realize that these components, these dimensions will always evolve and become better and stronger. So level of tolerance, how you stretch, elasticity become things that we look forward to. But it's about having a plan, having an assessment against a certain checklist to say, am I self-aware of who I am, my strengths, and my development areas? The impact of my behaviors and actions on other people, and how do other people come towards me and collaborate with me? If I realize I'm putting people off, how do I quickly correct myself and be able to have collaboration, inspiration, motivation to get things done, rather than putting people off? So it's a continuous journey. Hard as may be, the first step is always the most important one. Then as you journey along and seek feedback from those around you, you can always improve.
But you also said that you should have anticipatory leadership perspective when you have to figure all this out. Tell us a bit more about that too.
So it's about thinking about what could happen. Most businesses have SWOT analysis, PESTLE, political, economic, social, technology, leadership, or legal factors in economic. Nobody ever thought about health. So how do you anticipate by talking about the worst case scenario? What could possibly happen to kill my business? Or to really have a big impact on the economy or the political landscape? What could be the worst case scenario? So imagination, being the devil's advocate, and then that's anticipating. So you anticipate that this and that could happen, and then you build your solution to say, if these things happen, that's my response.
But even with people who anticipate a lot, I don't think anybody ever anticipated COVID-19 and its exacerbating effects on all of us.
Because nobody thought about the health dimension.
Okay.
So we talk about political, economic, social, technological, legal, and
economic?
No, ecological, right?
Okay.
But nobody thought about health. What if we had a worst health situation? So we are evolving. And now I think now that health has come in, we have to think about other things, right? What if there's a sudden death toll? So we have to begin to think really without the box, not outside the box, but without the box, about the worst case scenario. So get people who are very imaginative and creative in a room, get them to think about what could happen. So TV3, for example, what if it got taken over by MTN?
Yeah.
You know, you would think about the MTN TV3. Well, what if that happened? What would happen to Belamundi and her team?
Yeah.
So think crazy, think without the box about what could happen tomorrow, for which we don't have a solution today, and start planning solutions. If we had thought about a health pandemic, because we've had viruses, probably the vaccines to mitigate that would have come up earlier, or the medications would have come up earlier. But nobody thought about that.
Exactly. So you have to have that anticipatory leadership perspective. And you get all these details in this book, by the way, Winning in the Jungle. Tell me about writing this book and how long it took, you know, the inspiration, all of that.
3 months.
3 months to write the book.
It took me 3 months to write the book. So
okay.
Again, I talk about taking notes and writing things all the time. So I had these ideas floating through my mind all the time. I was taking notes on my phone. I mean, I am known to always be on my phone. I'm not always on WhatsApp or social media.
Okay.
Although I play in that space quite often because it's my hobby. I like to be on social media.
Okay.
But I take a lot of notes on my phone. So when things strike me about what's happening in my environment and how people are responding, I begin to take notes. So COVID-19, it was this beast nobody even knew about. But we had information coming through, the myths and the truths. So I was careful to look at the responses, and I had the chance to speak a lot about COVID-19 and how the world of work was changing and the response that we should give from a manager perspective, employee perspective. I had those opportunities. But what struck me was how about having a repository of information where someone would just pick it up and say, you know what, let me just refer to this and work with this. So I was in 3 months thinking that if we have self-mastery and we are conscious about rising above ourselves in spite of the ashes, we can actually get to a place where out of the complexity and the uncertainty, still survive.
Definitely. How did you arrive at the title of the book?
Great stuff. So, so one morning I was actually cycling. So a bicycle is a very small vehicle.
Yeah.
And I often get a lot of big vehicles, 4x4s, speeding past me. Then you have the little cars, the Uber type of cars, speeding past me. Then you have the articulator speeding past me. And it struck me that if I was a small entrepreneur or a small business owner, and there were the big businesses, how would I survive against all these big conglomerates, all these big businesses? So I thought, this is a jungle, because you have the speed, you have the noise, you have the pollution. You know, this little person sitting on a bicycle, so that's the jungle that you find yourself in your ecosystem. So how do I win in this jungle? That I just wrote it down.
Just like that?
Yes, I just, parked my bicycle, wrote it down on my phone.
Oh, I see.
And I went to I started putting the table of contents together to just fill the pages. So that's how I wrote the book.
Just like that. Interesting. And this book, by the way, if you check the foreword, you'd realize that Dr. Mensa Otabil, who's the General Overseer of International Central Gospel Church, wrote something really lovely about it. He says that I strongly recommend Winning in the Jungle for all individuals who especially seek to rise above the mediocrity, to bring change in their circle, to touch lives positively, particularly through sound leadership, which exhibits nothing short of excellence. He's not the only one who endorsed it. We also have Dr. Joyce Ayi, who is the Executive Director for Salt and Light Ministries, very respected, very revered. And she also said, a jungle is an unsafe place to live because it's a thick forest with trees, plants, and dangerous animals with intense competition and a struggle for survival, and yet survive we must. And Charlotte Amose, lawyer and international elections consultant, also penned down something really nice. Also, Mrs. Frida Y. Duplan, chairman of Zenith Bank. So these are people who endorsed your book. Professor Matthew Chamenyi, he's the executive director for SEEPS Africa. It must mean a lot to have all these seasoned professionals and people who are revered in their fields endorse your book. How did you make this happen?
So, Pastor Mensa Otabil is my spiritual father because I attend this church, and he's been very, very instrumental in my Christian walk. Reverend Joyce Ayi is like my mom. I mean, she is phenomenal, and she impacts my life greatly because I see a woman who's been able to survive so much and has huge impact. Very humble, very knowledgeable, very intelligent, and very intense. Mrs. Charlotte Osei, I regard that woman in high esteem. To have political parties changing power or transfer of power under a leadership of an electoral commissioner is one remarkable feat.
Yeah.
And she did it flawlessly without a war breaking out in this country. So I respect Madam Charlotte Osei immensely.
Okay.
Mrs. Frida Y. Duplan, I've known her for over a decade. So we work together in Nestle, and she's been an amazing, amazing big sister, very inspirational woman. From a family perspective to a work perspective, name it. Frida is just phenomenal. Professor Matthew, he is my boss because I'm associate professor for SIPS, so I am affiliated to SIPS as well, China European International Business School.
Okay.
So I have a professorship arrangement with them, and he's an amazing, supportive executive director. Everything you want to embark on, Professor Matthew would encourage you, go for it, advise you, counsel you. So these are people in my network that have really been very supportive and very helpful in my journey to where I am today, and it's just been phenomenal.
Okay, and if anybody decides to read this book and they're looking for that one thing, or just a sentence as to why I should read this and what would be my takeaway from the book, what would you say as the author?
Stand.
Okay.
It would just be stand. Keep standing. Don't fall. No matter what hits you in life, keep standing.
That's what also, guides your principles as well?
Exactly.
I see. When is the launch?
Tomorrow.
What time and where?
5:30 p.m. at the Holiday Inn. So because of COVID-19 and the physical distancing, we're going to have quite a limited in-phase or in-person launch, but we're going to have it on Zoom and Facebook Live. So fingers and toes crossed, we'll have people being able to watch and participate and inspire me to do better. And to do more.
Someone would say that I lost my job during COVID. I lost my parent or a loved one during COVID. You're telling me to stand. I have nothing to stand for.
You have something to stand for. You're still alive. And you still have all God's endowed gifts within you. And hopefully you have a network that would support you. So if you have a network that doesn't support you, look for a better network to help you to stand regardless of the tribulations of life. Easier
said, no?
Easier said, true. But you don't have a choice when you're in that situation. Are you going to go down the drain and also die? You have a choice to stand. However difficult it will be to be on your feet, make that effort, convince yourself, rely on grace, and stand.
Hallelujah, somebody. Rely on grace and stand. Where can I get this book after the launch, by the way?
So my website, hazelbrad.com. It's going to be on Amazon. It's going to be on Book Nook. We're going to be on Instagram, and just by a phone call, WhatsApp, it can be supplied. We're finishing our arrangement with some oil marketing companies like the forecourts, the petrol forecourts, to put them up there, and as well as the kingdoms of this world and the EPs of this world. So it's going to be available. But by all means, phone call, WhatsApp order, delivered to you.
Definitely. And these numbers, do you have them here?
Yes,
yet?
please.
Okay, please kindly drop the numbers for us.
055 010 10 16 is the first one. Second one is 0596 10 17 17. You call these numbers, you WhatsApp these numbers, you have your book delivered to you.
Definitely. I called the first one. So 055 010 10 16.
Yes.
And the second one again is
05960 10 17 17.
All right. Very easy numbers. You should remember them. And let me just show the book to them. This is the new book by Dr. Hazel Pobiwa Berad Amwa, and it's called Winning in the Jungle, Understanding Self, Others, and Excelling from a Place of Commodity and Complexity. So please do get this book and make sure that you join us virtually for the launch tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Please be a part of it. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I should bring you back for the other conversation. Maybe another time we'll have that.
We will do that.
But we'll continue that off air. But thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So Dr. Hazel Pobiwa Berad Amwa is an author. She just authored the book Jungle of Uncertainties Winning in the Jungle, that will be launched tomorrow. And also she's a chartered insurer and a multiple award-winning seasoned HR with over 25 years experience across industries. We have some more coming up. This is still TV3 New Day. Keep watching.